Yeah, I think we get rolling as well. Let me share screen here. Ba-da-ba. All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for putting up with our banter as we start every single week. Can't tell, we're having a little bit of fun. Uh, so we had not every week can be an amazing week. We understand that. This we had a little bit of a sales lull this week, unfortunately, but that's going to happen from time to time, which is all right because we have a lot of things rocking and rolling, ready to go. So we do want to give you some updates as to what's happening. In fact, we'll start with this, Dave. I know this is something that a lot of you are looking forward to as open enrollment comes later this year, but we do have our Med-Sup training coming next Friday. So definitely mark that one on your calendars. Dave, anything you want to add there to what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I mentioned it last week on the call, but our Aflac's Med-Sup, um, I think we're in a really amazing window of time to be able to capitalize on this. Even if you've never sold Med-Sup before, though it is a more complicated sale, um, Aflac's brand is the most powerful brand in the insurance business. Somebody might argue Geico but regardless. And when you look at in the older American space over age 45, that brand recognition hangs out in the high 90s. And right now, since Aflac launched Med-Sup, not last year, but the year before, um, it is they didn't see a rate change, right? MedSup changes prices every year based off experience. Aflac didn't see the rate change. So Aflac is one and two in about 80 plus markets price wise, especially amongst the top tier carriers, and one, two, or three in about 95% of markets in the country. So the ability to go in and grab a MedSup with a big brand like Aflac with the best price, big brand, big price, our best price, that doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to pause and take the screen for just a quick sec.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you want to do a little pre-work before next week, if you want to get educated on Aflac's MedSup, brilliant name here they came up with is sellaflacmedsup.com. And that's sellaflacmedsup, two P's on sup.com. And if you click on the resources page, you guys are going to see all the stuff. So you're going to see a coverage map. You can go watch the video's not awesome. I'll just tell you, it's just telling you all the stuff I'm giving you. There's product flyers. But the big thing is you guys can go and download brochures by state. It's not in every state, guys, just so you know. So I don't know if we've got anybody from Washington on the call besides Jesse and I, but unfortunately, no MedSup in Washington, Minnesota, New York. You can kind of see the tip of the country up here. No MedSup, Maine, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Alaska. And guys, those aren't coming anytime soon. So if you have anybody who's in those markets, sorry, this Aflac MedSup's not going to be the option. For everybody else, Aflac MedSup is an awesome opportunity. And we're coming into MedSup season, into Medicare season. And what that means is about 60% of enrollments will happen right here at the end of the year, October through January. And so you guys think open enrollment, for those of you on the worksite side of the house, it's that on steroids, right? It is crazy time, the volume. So great opportunity, guys, for you guys to learn a product. It pays very well. It pays a very steady, long time income. But next week, we're going to have Ward Garrett from Aflac on our call to go through MedSup. He can answer questions on actually any of the Aflac products. Ward, I always felt really, we had traveled around the country, and I always felt like I was kind of the old timer in the room, right? 20 plus years with Aflac. And then Ward sits next to me with 35 years with Aflac. I'm a rookie compared to Ward in the business. So Ward knows more than he's forgotten more than I know. He's a great guy. And he has sold a hell of a lot of Aflac. And he led the nation last year for our sales team for tier 1, 2. So we're going to have him on next week. So if you guys are interested at all in MedSup, I would absolutely make sure this is on your calendar for next week. It's a great opportunity to learn about a new product that's has a wide open opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave.
You bet.
Very much looking forward to that. And it's going to be big. It's going to be big as we get closer. I want to give an update on leads. Many of you know we've been looking for and vetting several different lead sources. We believe we do have the one. We're not fully vetted out yet. You know, we definitely like to vet things out before we open it up to the masses. But our results so far, I mean, we're what, 2 weeks deep or 3 weeks deep with this? I don't even remember. But either way, it's looking good. 2 weeks deep. So I would say it's still too soon to call victory on this one, but it's looking very, very good. We're seeing a return rate. Well, I'll give you an idea. Somebody last week, they had 13 leads, talked to 6 people, sold 4 of them. That's pretty good ROI. But again, we're still in the infancy stages. I'll tell you a little bit about it though. If you have been in this business for a little bit, you've probably heard of Cody Askins. He runs this source. It's called Kaboom Leads. But here's the difference. Here's why we loved it as we met with them, and we certainly looked at them quite a bit. So we certainly are looking for qualified leads and exclusive leads, right? We don't want to be putting a lead source out there for everyone that those leads have been bought and sold 7-8 times, which is the average. We want something that they're locked to you. So he does a very, very good job with that. So typically when you buy leads, you put in an order for, say, 20 leads, right? And then they take 20 leads off the shelf and hand them to you. This is different because they have 3 teams to help with this. They have a campaign team that will build a personalized campaign for you, which is great. Then they have a quality control team. So they're monitoring the close rate and the sell rate of their leads, which is fantastic. And how are they coming in? Are they deadly? Are they bad numbers? That kind of thing. We did have 2 bad numbers, by the way, in a batch, and they turned around and replaced those 2 bad numbers with new leads, which is fantastic. And then they also have a support team. So if you're having any kind of issues, they have a team dedicated solely to that, which is fantastic. So we love that. The way they do it, so if you order, say, 20 leads, then what they do is they do an onboarding call with you. It takes about 15 minutes. They get to know who you are, what your goals are, all that fun kind of stuff. They get a picture from you, a personalized or a professional photo of you. They take your NPN number, your contact info, and they drive these through videos on Facebook. And so as they're putting that lead out or that Facebook ad out for you, they're mentioning your name, you can see here, up to 8 times throughout the process, right? And so when someone goes in, they click on the ad, they answer 13 to 14 pieces of info about themselves. And then once they hit enter and say, yes, I want information, they instantly get a text message with your picture, your NPN number, your phone number. It says, hey, thanks for your interest. You've been assigned to Dave. He's going to walk you through the qualification process. We highly suggest you reach out to him, but he'll be reaching out to you as well. So this to me was insane. If you can see that, the 10% inbound calls. So they're seeing 10 to 20% of leads calling the agent before the agent can even call them, which is fantastic. So we had Cody on in our meeting, and he told us he's seeing between 10 and 12% of all leads leading to a sale, which is pretty fantastic. So anyway, we're still in the infancy stages there, but so far so good. If you do want to try this out, you don't want to wait for us to vet it all the way out. You want to try it out for yourselves, you can certainly do that. Bo, can you do me a favor? Can you drop it in the chat where they go? And there is a discount code. So right now, because we're in the infancy stages, if you type that in, if you're getting an FE lead, you type in One Solution as the discount, it'll drop it from $23 down to $20. If you're going for a term life, there's another option there. One Solution Life is a discount code. Are those the same price? I actually don't know that one. You guys know?
Yeah, we haven't done the term yet, so I don't know what the pricing is on that one.
Yeah, we haven't really looked at that one. As we move forward, though, so once we vet this thing out fully, we're going to meet with them again, and we should be able to get the price dropped down to $15 a lead. So looking forward to that.
And we're also going to have Cody on, Paul. I think that's important to note. He's going to join us for a call. And I don't know if any of you guys, Paul, you may want to drop a couple of Cody's videos. I think in the chat would be pretty cool. Or Bo or somebody who's got some of his. The guy's pretty dynamic. You can see why his business has exploded. And he's doing some really unique things to be able to help drive sales. for our agents. So it's worth taking a look, guys, at what we're looking at. We always have our head on a swivel trying to drive the best opportunities for you guys.
Awesome. I do want to share anything else on leads, guys, before I move forward. Nope. All right. Let me share here again. All right, just a reminder, there are 3 weeks left to take advantage of the Q2 contests that are out there. Aflac's very simple. 3 policies, a $200 bonus, 6 is $500. Can you guys play whack-a-mole on the mute button there?
I did.
And 10 policies is $1,000. So 3 weeks, you still have 3 weeks to do that. Core Bridge, you guys know this one, this one is a little bit more lucrative. Unfortunately, the GI product does not count towards this bonus. It's the simplified issue only. But you can see how that tiers up there. So you can still get 5, 2,000, all the way up to 8,000. If you really get hustling here the last 3 weeks, get 20 apps. None of us would be disappointed if that were to happen. And lastly, still 3 weeks left to qualify for Alaska. So looking forward to that. Those that have punched your ticket, it's going to be great. You still have time though. It's you got to hustle, but it can be done. Guys, anything I'm missing on updates before I jump into the meat of the combo today?
No, ma'am.
No.
Did it?
All right. So we've been talking this week a lot around what our focus is, what we've been trying to accomplish, and it's been really fun. I've been able to be out in the field quite a bit this week, meeting one-on-one with people face to face. It's been fantastic, and it's always a great reminder of our why, which is we want to absolutely place opportunities in front of everybody so that you guys can be as successful as you want to be, as us as well, right? And so we heard an amazing story this week, which falls right in line with our vision and how, if you're worksite, how you can incorporate this, but also if you're not worksite, how you have different opportunities here. But this is what happened. So it was a little case. So if you work with Aflac, you work with Colonial, whatever, you know a 3-employee, a 3-life case is not the biggest, most lucrative case out there, right? So they had 3 worksite employees. They sold their average of $657 per person, which means they got a total of $422 advance, right? Historically, if you've got worksite background, you're not necessarily jumping for joy there, but you made a few bucks, right? Here's the difference.
Worth this time. It was at least worth this time, right?
Yeah, it was worth this time. So here's the exciting thing. He did happen to quote every single one of those 3 and said, hey, I like to provide a life quote to all of my clients. I would like to give you a life quote. Gives them a quote. Happened to go 3 for 3 on the life quotes as well. Made a minimum of $1,500 advanced on that one. And that is a totally different story now, right? Now that 3-life case turned into $1,922 for this person, right? That person happens to be our brother. So he did this just yesterday, actually. So that to me is super exciting though, right? We get to see that now all of a sudden that's a game changer to be able to do that. So as we started looking at this, I've been meeting with a few folks and we wanted to really put a visual towards what the opportunity really looks like. So most of you on this call, or most of you worksite experience, I believe, right? Some of you are not. I'll start with worksite.
Not everybody.
Yeah, not everyone, but so let me share this.
We tried to get John Lyon to come to the work site, but he's not having it. He wasn't having it. He told me to F off or something, probably. Just kidding. John would never do that.
Yeah, that's not my language type.
That's not John's language. That's Jesse's language, but not John's.
He would say the full word is what would happen.
Yeah.
I would say
he would say flipping. He would flip off, is what he would probably say to me. So.
Flip off.
I'm a New Yorker. I don't refrain from using proper language.
I would say let's discuss this over a Mountain Dew.
Okay, so I wanted to share with you guys, how this works as people are starting to incorporate it. And don't worry, I'll share worksite. I'll also share if you're not worksite, you're just fully direct to consumer. So what this is based on the work side here, I'll show you this, is an Aflac associate selling just 125,000 a year. So if you're not worksite, you can take a snooze for just a little bit. I'll get to you in just a second. Okay, so 125,000. If you're Aflac, that's a familiar number with you. That's the bonus level for a rookie associate, right? So when you look at that, I care mostly about what's actually going to be hitting your checking account. The renewals are certainly nice as they start to flow, but what's most important for most everyone right now is what's hitting my checking account this week. So this is what it would look like. So 125,000 with an associate that's growing at 25% a year, which is pretty standard, right? All the way up to 305,000 in sales. So this model, if you were to just simply quote every single one of those policyholders and close at 10% of those, which is pretty low, then this is what it would look like on your life sales. So that's your AP that you would get from that, and your overall commissions there. Plus, if you sold two, if you happen to quote anyone that's over 65, this, I don't know how many of the people would be over 65, but if you were to sell 2 MedSup plans a month for the course of a year, that's what that's based on. So with that, this is what it would look like. So year one, just by incorporating a very simple quote into what you're doing, you'd be looking at a minimum of about 72,000 in advanced commissions year one. And you can see as that grows, 5 years deep, you're looking at 187. Okay. So not too shabby. That's why we're looking at this thing going, goodness gracious, there's so much opportunity sitting out there, and you can grow very, very quickly. That, by the way, is a pretty slow growth chart. So if you are not worksite, say you don't have access to a book of business, you do have access to leads, right? So as I've gone through and I've looked at averages of people that are full-time in this, actually, let me show you this one. A good target that people typically set to push themselves, if you're just going straight direct to consumer, you're basing this off of leads, is to go with 10 sales per month. Right. Of course, that's going to vary by person and what your income level you want to be. So I base this just on 10 sales a month. And if you're closing 10% of your leads, which also rule of thumb that I've been seeing, this was my rule of thumb with my business as well, was to invest 20 to 30% of your revenues back into the growth of the business. So this would be investing 20% of your sales back into leads to drive that business. This is what year one would look like all the way through year 5. And MedSup, this is selling instead of 2 per month on average, this is 4 per month per average. But you can see how that growth starts to come about. It's not too shabby, right? Almost 100K first year.
What's the growth rate you applied to that, Paul? How much growth each year?
So this is 25%.
Thank you.
Growing by 25%. So, very, very, very doable, because your first year is going to be the hard year, right? An associate level, it's a little bit different. So that to me is super exciting to be able to see what that looks like. Before I jump into the next piece, any questions? What thoughts, comments? What are you guys thinking?
Starts small and gets big fast. Rolls.
I'm going to leave that one alone, Jesse. I'm going to leave that alone. But so what we wanted to look at are what are some of the best practices? How are people doing this? So that all looks great. Like, I don't know who would not want to grow at a level like that, but how in the world does it happen? Well, it has to start with a plan, right? You have to know what it is that you're going to do, because it's not going to just happen. So I would say starting point for anybody is you have to determine what is your target that you're going to push yourself towards. Maybe you have an annual number, but you definitely have to have a monthly number. And then how many people do you need to be talking to? So if you're straight direct consumer, everything that I've read about people that struggle first year direct consumer is this. They kind of tippy-toe into the business. Like, they start with 10 leads, they start with maybe 20 leads, and it's just not enough volume. You think of an airplane taking off, right? The airplane really has to put the thrusters all the way down to get that takeoff. And then once they're up and running, then they can tone it down, right? So everything I've read is you've got to make a significant investment initially to be able to give yourself enough at bats. And then once you have those at bats, then you can tone down your lead purchasing to run at about 20%, right? But you've got to give yourself, I would say, if you're going to sell 10, you've got to be working with at least 100 leads out of the gate, right? That's something to look for. Worksite, it's, do you know how to quote? Are you familiar with the quoting tools? Are you familiar with Life Center? Are you familiar with the conversation? I'll tell you the conversation. It's not too difficult. I like to quote all of my Aflac clients, and I like to give all of my Aflac clients a life quote, and that's it, right? That's the conversation, and then from there it just jumps in. So those are starting points. Questions. I do want to open it up to you guys. What are some of the objections you've been getting? What are some of the frustrations that you've been getting? What can we do to help you all out to make sure that you're moving your business forward so that you're talking to at least 10 people you're selling at least 10 people over the course of a month? We want to open up to you guys. What are the challenges that you're facing right now? Don't be shy.
Hey, Paul, we just had Mark
Yeah.
we had Mark, our brother, join the chat or join the call just a minute ago. Hey,
cool.
Mark, can you, I don't even know if your camera ready because this is a surprise. Yep. Mark didn't know I was going to do this to him. Mark, how did you ask those people about that quote in that group yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was, 3 days ago?
Yesterday,
what was it? How did you pose it? How did you frame it up?
I mean, it was just an existing Aflac account of mine and just doing a servicing day. And I just straight up asked them, like, hey, do you have any life insurance right now? And I actually threw out the quote. I think one of you guys shared a few weeks ago, 50% of Americans don't have life insurance, but 100% should, feel like they should have it. So I kind of said that, and they all kind of like shook their head, like, yeah, that's true. I'm like, well, let's get you some quotes. And I go, okay, all three of them.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it wasn't hard. You asked the question, right?
Yeah, I just had to ask the question. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, super simple. Yeah. So not to focus this solely on Aflac folks, but there are a few objections that I've been receiving. So I'll tell you one. So I heard from some folks yesterday. They said, hey, if I'm at my Aflac enrollment, why the heck wouldn't I just quote them on a group policy? And I said, well, yep, that totally makes sense. You could absolutely do that. The difference is this: you're going to make about 50% more selling them a direct consumer product than you are there. And on the direct consumer side, we're seeing a 91% persistency rate. So when Americans are changing jobs every 3 years, yeah, you could place that product. It is going to be about, we quoted it, it's going to be about $25 cheaper a month for the same level of coverage, which I totally understand that may be the route to go. But they're more than likely, they're going to leave. They're going to leave their employer. They're going to lose that coverage, right? We heard the national average yesterday. It's improved slightly from last year. Last year it was 1.7% of people port their coverage. This year it's 1.9% of people are porting their coverage. Right?
Tidal wave of porting coverage, man.
Yeah. So as you're looking to build your coverage, your business, right? I would much rather have something that's going to stick on the books much, much longer than 3 to 5 years, right? And you're still doing right, and you're still giving them something that's going to be accruing cash value and all of the things, right? So that one to me is very easy, and a lot of light bulbs went off, right? So that's one objection. Bo, what else did we hear this week? Or is that about it?
Confused.
That's pretty good. You caught me off guard. We just had a bunch of glass breaks. Sorry, and I'm watching the security cameras.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, kids, right?
Yeah, so I've heard that. The other thing I've heard is, well, I just sold them all of this coverage. Now they don't have the money to do this anymore, right? Which, Dave, I know you know how to handle that one. How do you handle that one?
Yeah, I mean, guys, I think the way you think about it is people compartmentalize their budgets, their income. It's not just one big pool of money, even though it shows up in their bank account that way. People aren't thinking about like, oh, I'm not going to buy health insurance because I already bought car insurance. That doesn't happen. They think about life insurance lives in a different wallet, lives in a different budget mentally for people. So it does live in a different place. In fact, we watch the folks on the tier 1 call center on a direct consumer basis. We saw no reduction in premium sold when they bought a life policy. Zero reduction in other policies sold. It's because they live in different worlds. It's a different budget. You got to think, why did they buy life insurance in the first place? They didn't buy it to take care of themselves. They don't get a dang dollar. They're beneficiaries. They're buying it to protect somebody else. So they live in different worlds. So the fear of, in fact, Aflac is selling a term product through TrueStage. It's not even an Aflac product at the Tier 1 call center. And there was a huge concern. Now we're selling some other carrier's product. We saw zero reduction in Aflac policy sold. Zero. It's because they live in different places. They're designed to protect different things, just like car insurance and home insurance is different than health insurance. They're designed for different things and they live differently in people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing we're seeing, by the way, as people are bringing this up, is they are seeing more people to sell to as well, right? So you Aflac folks out there, typically what happens is when you go into an open enrollment, you see all the people that you sold last year, right? And maybe a few new hires that come through, right? What we're seeing is as they're projecting out, hey, we've got a new whole life product that's out here. It's the milkshake bringing more people to the yard, right? More boys are showing to the yard, right? So, which is giving them more at bats to sell all of the other product lines. So what we're seeing is an increase. It's the rising tide that's lifting ships, right? We're seeing an increase in Aflac sales because it's bringing other people to those enrollments, which is great. We're also seeing folks close more worksite cases because they are actually using that executive bonus option. Because here's something that's happening in the workplace is we all know that the cost of living is much higher than it was just 3 years ago, right? Everyone is feeling that. In fact, employers, a lot of their strategy has been, well, shoot, you know what? I'm going to invest in benefits for folks so that I can bring people into my business. I can hire better people. But the challenge now is that's not necessarily this anomaly, right? Employees in the workforce now are saying, I expect to have benefits paid by my employer, right? So all those employers are doing now is they're bringing themselves up, they're meeting the status quo, right? But what they don't expect is to have a bonus, right? And so that's a very, very cool tool to be able to use. We've talked about it on this before, to be able to say, hey, have you tried executive bonuses? Here's how they work. They don't have to be a qualified plan, meaning they don't need the IRS to sign off on them. All that is required is an agreement that I will pay you X amount of dollars in bonus. And it has to meet 2 criteria. They have to use it on a direct bill policy, and it has to be a permanent life policy as well, right? And so the perk to the business owner is it is 100% tax deductible, right? Everything they pay that employee is tax deductible. So absolutely fantastic. In fact, they can double bonus because the employee, that's coming to them as income, right? So they just add the dollar amount to their paycheck. They can double bonus that employee and pay the taxes for them that come along with that. So what they need to do, that the conversation is this: have you tried an executive bonus? Do you have employees that you would love to keep on? Okay, great. Here's what would be your budget to be able to contribute to them? Most people, it's in the range of $80 to $100 a month. Would that fit for you? Yes, fantastic, great. I'll meet with them. I'll get them their coverage. Once they have their coverage, we can tell you what the premium amount is, and then they lay out the agreement. Hey, Dave, I'm going to pay you $108 a month, $125 a month, whatever, for this bonus. That has to go to paying these premiums. And the perk, of course, tax deductible to the employer. The employee gets life coverage paid for by the employer, but they're also accruing the cash value. They 100% own that policy. They leave that employer, it's still their plan. So there are certainly unique things that we can be doing on the work site here. Non-work site stuff. Here's a super interesting stat that we found pouring through all of this is persistency is always king, right? Consistency, I guess I should say, is always king. So a lot of times we reach out, we don't hear anything, but 25% of all sales take place 120 days after those leads go live. Which to me is crazy, right? And so the important thing is when you have that pool of folks, I mentioned 100 is a good place that make sure you're cultivating 100 leads at a time. That's going to generate 10 sales a month for you. But you've got to continue to maintain those the follow-ups with those folks. In fact, we've seen that's one of the beauties with the AI that we're providing for everybody is it can do a lot of that follow-up for you. I can't tell you how many times we've seen appointments that come after the 17th approach that we've made with them, which I can tell you personally, I'm not going to be reaching out to somebody 17 times. I don't think I'm way too ADD for that, but I'll gladly have a computer do it for me and take that appointment. Dave, you look like you were chomping at the bit to say something.
No,
Or
no, I just agree. It shocks me. In fact, we've gotten to the point when we're like, man, maybe we should turn off all these texts but then we go and look, and like, man, they didn't respond after 6, 8, 10 times, and then all of a sudden a response comes up from the client. We're like, okay, dang. And that's really what it is because this business is a business about timing and about triggering events. Something happens. They read something on Facebook about somebody passing away. If you guys are on Facebook or Instagram, you guys put a thumbs up in the chat if you're on a social media, Facebook, Instagram, or X, or if you're on one of those three, right? Or give me a thumbs up, right? Cody is, Bo is, John Lyon apparently is not. He's, we all are. And if you guys go open your feed right now and you go scroll it, are you guys going to see somebody who got cancer, somebody who died, somebody who without a doubt. And so that's what happens sometimes is these follow-ups happen and they see something, they read something on Facebook, they read something on Instagram, they heard something at church or at a baseball game, and it triggers them like, dang, I really do need to do something. And so having that constant touch point that it's there, people want convenience and ease. And when they go, they know how to access it because you reached out, they go, oh yeah, I need to do that. Yes. Boom. And we're seeing that follow up. But Paul's right. It's about having a big enough pipeline that you always have a little bit coming through the pipeline. You guys have all seen it. If you have very little in the top of the funnel, very little, even almost nothing will come out of the bottom. You need enough in the top of the funnel, whether you're getting it through worksite, through leads. You have to have enough in the front of the machine to get the finished product out. And that's a sold life product.
Questions you all have? Is there anything that you're bumping into in the marketplace that you'd like some answers to? You guys are quiet this morning.
It's Friday before Father's Day. Everybody's got to get ready to grill.
Yeah, right. How many of you remembered it was Father's Day? Come on. The fathers. Okay, so it boils down to this, I would say. It's activity or skill set. And so when you're a rookie in this thing, you've got to be putting in enough activity to overcompensate your lack of skill set. That's just how it goes. The more activity you put into it, the higher your skill set goes, which means you can tone down your activity because you're way more efficient, right? So you've got to make sure if you're not getting the results that you want right now, make sure you're taking time to hone in your skill set, right? What does it look like? What are you saying that's not yielding the appointments? Maybe that's what it is, or maybe you're not closing. You're having appointments, you're not closing. What is it that you're saying? We would love to work with you on that. If you want one-on-one time, all of us are willing to jump on with you and help you hone that. But you've got to make sure that you're giving yourself enough at bats. You've got to make sure, just like anything, I'll shut up after this. So many of you know this. I love the book Atomic Habits. It's a game changer, right, Trevor? So with that, it talks about habit stacking. So if you want to do something and you want to make it stick, you've got to do it on the back of something that you already do every single day. And you've got to keep it in front of yourself, right? And I love this analogy because I see it real life. So he talks about if you're going to do something, you've got to give yourself that visual trigger all the time. So say, for example, you want to eat healthier. Well, how many of us, when we want to eat healthier, we're at the grocery store, we buy some fruit or whatever, right? We buy some apples, we buy some grapes, and then we get home and then we put them in the fridge, right? I'm sure you've all done this before. You do that, you buy them, you put them in the fridge, and then you wind up throwing them away 10 days later because they went bad, because you kind of forgot that they were in there, right? But what happens, that's something totally different if you simply take that fruit and you put it in a bowl and you put it on your counter. Then what happens is you see it, and as you're walking by, you snack on it all the time, right? And that's how you start to build the habit. So for this, how you put that in your business here is you've got to put a trigger, a visual trigger in front of you every single day to give you that reminder. Okay, I've got to reach out. I've got to reach out to my FE leads. I've got to reach out to X amount every single day. You've got the reminder. I'm going to do that. That is, oh, go ahead.
To add to that too, like Paul and I had a really cool conversation yesterday about how we're 100%. Like we don't look at something and go, well, let's do this, but then put some of the eggs in backups and all these. No. Like 100%. When you commit, make it happen. And for a lot of us on this call, like you guys already have the experience. This is going to be so easy to implement for you. You just have to commit and do it. Hold yourself to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, Jesse, any other comments you all want to have?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
you know,
Go ahead, Jess.
for me, it's interesting because I'm not the insurance guy, right? I'm not background of insurance, but I love selling and learning it now, and it's been interesting to absorb all these different takes on people, and I'm blessed to have Dave and Paul and even Bo, teach me, kind of take me by the hand. But what I'm seeing in all of these agents and contracting and just conversations back and forth with myself and with others, I'm seeing that the people that implement this into their already existing business are being very successful. The people that are like, oh, I'm going to put on my Aflac hat, or I'm going to put on this hat, I'm going to do this, and now, oh, I've carved out an hour to do FE sales, or an hour to do, to try to figure out how to launch the FE. They're staggering a little bit and they're stalling. If I think we provided enough opportunities to show that it's a product that you have to just, number one, remember, stop overlooking the opportunity to just ask the question, would you like a life product? Would you like this? And the people that are doing that, it's just, I don't know why that's clicking to me, that certain people are just saying, this was so easy if I just put this into my daily schedule and have that habit going, to emphasize what Paul said. Just habit stack it. Get it in there and get it going. So that's for me. I've seen a lot of really cool thoughts and programs from people. So
Hey, Paul, just to wrap up, everybody got a pen handy? Everybody got a pen around? Old school. Write down 3 numbers for me, everybody. Point 2, 0.3, and 27. 0.2, 0.3, and 27. So I am I'm a little ADD, and so Paul's point of like putting it an absolute, I have to force myself to do stuff, and making small changes make a big impact. I can tell you guys that if you're already making so much money, and your career is exactly where you want it to be, I would guess none of you wouldn't be on this call with us right now. That would be my guess. Maybe I'm wrong and you kick ass and you've got millions and a trust fund and you're just here because Paul's such a good looking guy. But I'm guessing that's not the case. Because look at him. No, I'm kidding.
It's true. We all know this.
But guys, what those numbers are, I want to tell you what those numbers are. A 0.2 or a 200 hitter in baseball and a 0.3 or a 300 hitter in baseball. How many more hits does that mean? 10 at bats. How many more hits? How many more? Between a 200 hitter and a 300 hitter. How many more, Rick? Hold your hand up. How many more hits? Out of how many? It's not very much. You know what the 27 is? A 200 hitter makes $700,000 a year average in Major League Baseball. 27 million is what a 300 hitter makes a year in baseball. Guys, small change make a big impact, a huge impact. But if you guys come to these calls, you guys made an effort, go get a contract with us. You guys have made some effort, but if you just put it on the shelf because you just don't think about it, it's not going to do anything for you. Guys, if you quote 3 people a life policy week, Quote 3 people. You guys get in front of, you guys are salespeople. If you quote 3 people a life insurance policy a week, whether it's FE, a term, or whatever, if you quote 3 people a week, you're going to end up selling, on average, you're going to make about at least $28,000 more this year. Would that help in your house? That buys a pretty, that's a pretty nice car payment, a couple $1,000s a month. You're driving, pretty much whatever you want for a couple $1,000s a month. That makes a boat payment. That adds up, shoot, that's enough to buy a second home monthly payment. 3 people a week. What would it take for you this week? If you haven't done anything with us yet, and I look at the report every single day. I can't help it. I'm addicted to production reports. If you haven't sold with us yet, what would it take for you to sell a policy this week? Would it make an impact in your house? What if you could make, between now and the 4th of July, $5,000? What would you do with $5,000 in your house for the 4th of July weekend with your family? Would it make an impact? Those of you on camera, would 5Gs make an impact at your house for 4th of July? How hard is it to make $5,000 between now and the 4th of July? It's not very hard, guys, but it takes effort every single day. Little teeny changes make big impacts down the road. So I just wanted to close with that, right? The difference between a 200 hitter and a 300 hitter is not many more hits every at bat, but that small change makes a $27 million a year difference to a baseball player. If you guys make a small change and you find an opportunity to quote 3 times a week, it'll make a $28,000 difference a year in your family. Make a decision, guys. That's it. That's ultimately what it is. Make a decision. I am going to make this a part of my business practice. I don't have to make a sweeping changes, right? This is not a crash diet for your income. It's lots of small little incremental changes, right? And if you've been sitting on the fence thinking about it, and it pops up once a week because the Friday Fireup call reminder pops up on your calendar, make a decision. If that's what it takes for you to move, give yourself a reminder to quote a life insurance policy today. Make a quote today. Guys, small changes make a big impact. And we've watched it. We've watched people in our organization in this short time make tens of thousands of dollars. And these guys are not people who have been killing it in this business long term. They just decided, like, yeah, I'm gonna make calls. I'm gonna quote every one of my groups like Mark did this week. Guys, small changes make a big impact. You can make $5,000 for 4th of July. You can. Just make a decision to do it. You guys are smart, talented people. We're so grateful to have you on our team. I'm excited for you guys to make $5,000, and I want to hear what you guys did for 4th of July with an extra 5Gs. So that's all I have, Paul. I appreciate you guys. I thank you taking time out on a Friday with us.
Absolutely. If you want to jump in and you want to try those Kaboom leads out, let us know. Bo put it in there what the discount codes are, but if you forget, that's fine. Just reach out to us. We'll remind you. And we're certainly here for all of you guys. So if any of you need to talk, any of you need one-on-one time, you need to strategize, anything, let us know. We're here for you. So appreciate you all. Have an awesome weekend.